Guys, what's going on? I hope you guys are well. I hope you guys are staying safe. I hope everything's well, guys. The weather's getting hotter and hotter here in the UK. It's absolutely baking. Some of you, I saw some of you, one of you actually said you're from the Philippines and it's always hot in the Philippines. And I don't know whether you were happy about that or you weren't happy about that, but trust me, being in the heat is the best. Or, you know why? Because when you're in the sun, like I said yesterday, you feel your mood, it feels lifted. When it's cold, rainy, cloudy, you feel depressed. Your mood is down. You don't feel like getting up. You don't feel like getting out of bed, going to work and stuff. When it's sunny, you want to get up. You want to go out. You want to go to the gym. You want to go to a park. You want to go out. And in the UK, we don't really get those kind of experiences a lot. So when it does come, we really enjoy it, and people really take the most of it. Now, hopefully things get better here in the UK because there seems to be a surge in coronavirus cases again. So hopefully things don't get out of hand where they have to start locking things down. But yeah, the weather is brilliant, beautiful. Right now it's just blue sky and it's great, and I love it. And as you can see, it probably reflects in me making videos. It reflects in my body language because, like I said, it's hot. Don't get me wrong, and at night it's very comfortable because I struggle to sleep because it's really hot and I got a fan on full blast. But it's got to that point where sometimes where it's got so hot now where it's uncomfortable at night to sleep because it's so hot. But yeah, moving on from that and getting on to boxing talk, guys. This video is going to be broke down into two. The first topic is about Canelo Alvarez. Tito Trinidad said Saul's Canelo Alvarez is the best fighter in the world right now. He is pound for pound the best in the world, in the sport currently. Now, there are people that try to dispute this and say that, Crawford should be number one. I think it's a consensus unanimously across boxing fans now that Canelo Alvarez is the best fighter in the world. And I think even fans that aren't Canelo fans are in agreement that Canelo Alvarez is by far the best fighter in the world right now. And I don't think anyone can dispute his status as the number one fighter in the world, in world boxing right now. And if you do, then I think you've just declared you're a hater. Because there's no way anyone can deny what Canelo Alvarez has done in the sport of boxing. There's no one that can deny. Now, Tito Trinidad said this. That I commend him on his career. What a career he's had. He goes, he's fought some really tough opponents. He's fought some really opponents that weren't on his level. And that's a great point. He's fought opponents that were great opponents and opponents that weren't quite on his level. Every fighter, you look in the history of sport, all the greats have fought fighters that weren't on their level. It's impossible, listen to this, it's impossible to fight killers back to back, especially for as long as Canelo's been at the top. We're talking about Canelo Alvarez, who's been fighting since he was 18, 16 really, but when we're talking about world championship level from 22, how old was he when he fought Floyd? 23? So even if we go from then, 23 to 31, he's had so many fights he's had nearly 60 fights now. So that's like 17, 18 fights. If you go back to back fighting killers like that, and remember, he's still got another 5-6 years left. And the 5-6 years aren't going to be fought at poor levels. We're talking about it's going to be at world championship elite level fighting for the next 5-6 years. So Canelo's been fighting at elite world championship level for 7, 8 years now, maybe longer, 10 years. And he's probably got another 5 years, 6 years left. That's going to be 16 years at world championship level. Most guys have careers that span that long. And here's the thing. The careers after about probably 6, 7, 8 years, 6, 7 years. For me, a boxer's peak is probably around 6, 7 years. Right? Most fighters have a peak of about 6, 7 years. And then they start to fizz out and start to become washed up and start to slide. It's some of the all-time greats are able to, and even some not all-time greats are managed to, prolong their career and have spans at world championship level for a long period of time. But most fighters seem to be on a huge decline after about 6. They have a peak that lasts generally 6 to 7 years, right? They do well. They make their money. They have great fights, create their legacy, and then they start to decline. So what Manny Pacquiao, what Floyd Mayweather, what someone like Canelo Alvarez has done, that's not the norm. That's the exception. And any fighter in the past that has managed to, go on for so long, for so many years. It's not the norm. It's the exception. So what Canelo Alvarez is, a lot of people take it for granted. Oh, he fought Yildirim. You have to fight fights like that where it's not as hard, it's not as tough. Because remember, this is a very, very tough sport. This is a sport that puts your body under a lot of stress. Your bones and everything, they become brittle over time. The training camps, it's not just the fighting, it's the training camps. I don't think Canelo fighting Billy Joe, it was a very physically draining fight for Canelo Alvarez. I don't think he took much punishment in that fight. I don't think that's going to be draining him. It's the training camps as well. They take your toll. Because let's not forget, whether he's fighting Yildirim or he's fighting Golovkin, he's going to have to prepare the same way with the same intensity. It's not like he's fighting Yildirim, so he's going to say, oh, you know what, I'll work out 2 days a week instead of 5. No, that's not how it works. The intensity in training camp is exactly the same as if he's fighting Yildirim or Golovkin. So this is what people don't understand, is that people criticize Canelo Alvarez with some of the opponents like Rocky Fielding and Yildirim. You need these type of fights in with your fighting the killers that he's fought. He's fought so many great fighters. I don't see how you can criticize Canelo's resume because, like I said, in the sport of boxing, if you fight, Canelo Alvarez was to go 17, 18 years, right, fighting back-to-back, elite level fight, you do know that he needs to have a life after boxing. And he's doing that. He's just, at times, Yildirim was his mandatory. Rocky Fielding was his fight, with his own first fight with his own, I believe, where he was, getting into his contract, so they needed an opponent, and they fought Rocky Yildirim. But let's not forget, apart from those two guys, who did he really fight that wasn't on his level? He fought guys that were world champions. Now, if world champions aren't at his level, that's not Canelo's fault that he's too good. That's not Canelo's fault that in the 168-pound division, nobody's on his level. That's not his fault. He can only beat what's the best in the division. And he's beating them soundly. This is why he's pound for pound best for me. This is why a lot of people say, oh, Imran, you don't give certain fighters credit. Like I got criticism about Josh Taylor. I'm not saying Josh Taylor's not a world-class fighter, but the difference between guys like Canelo and Crawford, I know Crawford's resume is not great and he's not, but even when he was at 140 pounds, these guys, Canelo especially, Canelo's dominating the guys that he's going in the ring with. There's not even a contest and he's fighting the best. Josh Taylor, as brilliant as he is, he's not dominating his competition like Canelo is. Canelo's crushing guys. Canelo fought Billy Joe and wiped him out. He wiped him out. He knocked. He stopped him. He stopped Callum Smith. He completely dominated and dominated and not stopped him, but he completely dominated that fight. It wasn't a fight, and people expect him to do the same to Plant. So that's why I look at Canelo and say he's elite and he's pound for pound, because he's dominating at the top level. He's not having close fights. He's dominating. Now, Golovkin for me is a great. So Canelo having a close fight with Golovkin's a great. There's no shame in having close fights. Golovkin's a great middleweight. A great middleweight. One of the best middleweights. So Canelo having a close fight with him, there's no shame in that. But all the other world champions, Canelo seems to dominate. The only two close fights that I can really think of that Canelo's had of recent is Jacobs, and that I thought he won that fight with Jacobs, to be honest. Not comfortably, but he won it fair and square. It wasn't like it was a close where Jacobs deserved. No, Canelo won that. And Canelo, for me, beat Golovkin the second time round. Lara, I thought he beat Lara. I don't think Canelo gets the props for his career. I think he's the best fighter in the world. He's the best fighter in the world, and he's dominating world-class fighters. He's dominating at world level, something that a lot of people struggle to do. There's very few fighters that are able to dominate world-class competition. There's very few fighters that are able to dominate at world level. Canelo Alvarez is one of those fighters. He's dominating at world level. Very few fighters are able to do that, guys. Very few fighters are able to dominate at world level. Very few fighters are able to, beat guys the way Canelo beats guys at world championship level. It just doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. And that's when you know you're looking at a very, very special and elite fighter. I don't think Canelo gets the credit that he deserves. He's by far the best fighter in the world in modern times. He's the best fighter in modern times, without question. The confidence, the way he's improving, the hard work. And that's what I love about Terence Crawford. Although people criticize Crawford about his resume, Crawford also lives the life. Crawford lives in the gym. Crawford gets better. Crawford studies the guys that he's fighting, and he has a game plan for every single guy. He knows what he needs to do to win. Terence Crawford. Terence Crawford is special as well. He just hasn't had the opportunity to prove it against the so-called top fighters at welterweight. But he's also special. Believe me, and I don't want to sound arrogant, right? Because you know how I am. I say what I say, what I feel. I've watched a lot of boxing, and you can tell when after watching a lot of boxing who's special or not. And believe me, Terence Crawford is special. So is Canelo Alvarez. Crawford may have not had the opportunity like Canelo to prove it, but when Crawford does, he will prove it. But right now, Canelo Alvarez is the best in the sport, without question. For me, number two, and by some distance. You could put Canelo number 1 pound for pound, number 2, number 3, and then Crawford number 4. Canelo holds all 3 spots for me. That's the gulf. That's the gulf between him and number 1 and number 2 right now. And number 2 for me is Crawford. And that's the gulf between Canelo and Crawford. Tito Trinidad is 100% spot on. Canelo is the best fighter in the world right now, without question. It's not close. Not close. He is. Guys, the second part of the video is Anthony Joshua will be taking on Oleksandr Uysk. September 25th. Wow. It's finally been announced. You know what crazy thing is? I put up a video just like an hour ago saying that when's the announcement, and actually that was recorded last night. But yeah, I put up a video saying that, Anthony Joshua is going to be fighting Oleksandr Uysk. When's the announcement? What's going on? And here today we have an announcement, official announcement. I don't know what was the holdup, but it's just great. The fight's over the line. Now I'm going to start doing videos about this fight because I am excited. It's a great fight. It's a special fight. And I think this is a fight that's being overlooked by a lot of people. A lot of people seem to think that Usyk has no chance. I beg to differ. This is Anthony Joshua's stiffest test to date for me. This is against a guy in his prime, right? People may say what they want. He's not a cruiserweight. He's not a heavyweight. You can say what you want. This is against a guy in his prime. This is a possibly the most skilled fighter Joshua's ever faced. Possibly the most skilled fighter Joshua's ever faced. Bring it on. Bring it on. This is the fight. This is a fight. I can't believe people are overlooking Usyk. I can't believe people are saying Joshua's going to walk straight through him. I'm intrigued. I don't know whether Joshua's competitors saying it because they're trying to, if Joshua was to win, not to give him any credit, and if he was to lose, so then they can heap the criticism on him. I don't know, because let me tell you something. Looking at this as a neutral, because I don't care if I hope Joshua wins so we get the Fury fight, but I'm not doing it to if Joshua was to lose and then to heap. No. If Joshua was to lose, I'm not going to give Joshua criticism because he's fighting. And for me, I respect the fact that Joshua's fighting an elite fighter. He's fighting somebody very tough. And I give Joshua full credit for that. Oleksandr Uysk is a problem. And for me, stylistically, I just don't see how people can think this is an easy fight for Joshua. Joshua is not a pressure fighter. Joshua likes to keep things long. He likes to keep things at range. He likes to set things up behind the jab. Usyk may be too fast for him. Joshua's not a pressure fighter. He doesn't walk forward like that. That's not his nature to walk forward and become a pressure fighter. He may have to in this fight. because him boxing Usyk at range may not work. Because Usyk may be too skilled. He may be too skilled. He might be too slippery for Joshua. His feet movement might be too fast. Joshua might struggle to land punches. Because a lot of people say, well, oh, Derek Chisora landed a lot of punches. What's to say? Derek Chisora is a different fighter to Joshua. Styles make fights. Derek Chisora is a pressure fighter. He walks you down. He roughs you up. He throws swinging, wild right hands. Maidana style. It's a different fight. Joshua likes to keep things at range, at distance. Joshua doesn't fight like Chisora. So that's why Chisora might have been a harder fight for Usyk, stylistically, because Chisora was walking Usyk down. Now, of course, Joshua's a better fighter than Chisora. I'm not saying that, but styles make fights. Joshua's not going to walk and apply rough style tactics like Chisora did. Joshua's going to look to keep things long, look to set things up behind the jab. And I don't know whether that will be a success. He may have to change up his game plan during the fight and walk Usyk down to win. This is what a lot of people don't seem to understand. Styles make fights in boxing. Just because Chisora gave Usyk a hard fight, that doesn't mean Joshua's going to be able to cause him the same trouble, even though Joshua's better than Chisora, because Joshua doesn't apply the same kind of tactics that Chisora applies. Chisora's a pressure fighter. And when you're a big heavyweight, Usyk not being a big heavyweight, someone like Chisora's body mass, size, strength, power could be a problem for Usyk, especially when you're leaning on someone, when you're applying your physical presence. Joshua's not going to apply physicality on Usyk. He's going to look to box. Joshua, if you look at the way he fights, he likes to box. When has Joshua ever been a pressure fighter? He comes forward when he smells that someone's hurt, yeah. But he's not a pressure fighter, so to speak. He's more of a guy that gets behind his jab and sets things up, sets the right hands, the left hooks, the uppercuts, he sets them up. But this is what I'm trying to say against Usyk. Is he going to be able to set them up? Is Usyk going to be too clever? Is Usyk going to be too fast? Is his feet going to be too fast? I think people aren't taking that into consideration. I think they just think that Usyk's going to get completely walked over. I beg to differ. This is a quality fight, guys, and one that shouldn't be missed. This is a quality fight, and I can't wait. I'm excited. I'm excited that a fight that I wanted to see has been announced. And I think after Fury fight and Wilder, I think Usyk's the best possible opponent. I think the only two that could be better than this fight is Wilder and Fury, and they're fighting each other in October. So this makes great sense for me. It's a great fight, guys. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below what you guys think. And guys, remember to please like, share, subscribe to my channel. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.